Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Tim, and this is Second Legacy, and thank you so much for stopping by. This is a new channel. This is a fusion between Tim and I. We both have our own channels, Langley Outdoors Academy for me and Military Arms Channel for Tim, but this is a new fusion. This is something that's so important, and one of the conversations that we've got to have is around what's going on with the gun tubers on YouTube. What's happening with the system? Are they overreacting? What should be the response? And that's what we're really going to dive into, because to be quite honest, between the two of us, we have a lot of experience in this realm of the world. But before we dive into that, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, you like the video, and you turn the notification bell on. We would love to be blessed by you continuing to like the channel and helping it to grow. We've had amazing growth so far, and we'd love to see that continue. So thank you in advance for that consideration. But what we're going to talk about today, guys, it's not a whole lot of fun. I mean, in my own personal personal channel, I've just put a video out on this last night of where I had to make some very hard decisions, and I know a lot of people are. This affects not only gun tubing channels, this affects real people. This affects not only the individual creators, this not only affects the individual viewers, this affects the entire community across the board of Second Amendment valuing citizens, and that's what we're going to dive into. So with that, Tim, what do you think? How do you want to start this bad boy off? What do you want to hit first and kind of really add some lines here that we can stay between while we discuss this?
Okay, well, first of all, let's start off by saying that what's happening to the Second Amendment community right now under YouTube's, let's say it, reinterpretation of their policies and community guidelines, this isn't unique to the Second Amendment community. There are other communities that create content on YouTube that suffer under the same, reinterpretations and rewriting of rules and community standards. There's gaming channels, there's motorcycle channels. They can't show speedometers if they're breaking the speed limit. There's all sorts of restrictions that are placed on content. But of course, the Second Amendment part of it is what we're most concerned with, because this is the content that we create. So it seems like every year, maybe every 2 years, YouTube goes on the warpath, if you will. They get upset and decide they want to radically change the policies by which we play in terms of the Second Amendment community and the content that we create. And so this isn't the first time this has happened, but this one is particularly nasty because they haven't rewritten the rules. They're playing kind of like an ATF game. They're reinterpreting their rules and saying, well, these things that we're about to talk about have always been in violation of the community standards, and now we're just going to retroactively enforce them. And by doing that, that means they're going back years into video libraries well before this newest policy was even written, despite what they're saying. They're going back before these policies to old videos, 3, 5 years old or older, and then they're striking the accounts for the content contained in the videos. And what is the crime? Inserting a 30-round magazine into a gun and showing how that's done. Screwing a suppressor onto the end of a firearm, attaching it. Doesn't have to be screwing it, using a QD mount, just attaching, the act of attaching a suppressor to a firearm. Attaching any accessory, a scope. If I show you how to mount a scope on a rifle, that's a modification to the firearm under the current interpretation of the rules, and that will get you in a strike, 3 strikes and you're out. And by that I mean you get 3 account strikes, 3 of your videos get in trouble, they will pull your channel down, and that's the end of your channel. Your 15 years, in my case, of doing YouTube comes to an abrupt end. Yep. And so that's what the YouTube community is dealing with, the Second Amendment community right now. And you're going to find out that Grand Thumb, the AK guy, Brandon Herrera, Rob Ski, VSO Gun Channel, TGC News, Hank Strange. I'm sorry?
Coleon
Noir, Demolition Matt. I mean, it's across the spectrum. Have all been hit by this as of this recording. Okay, so this is not something that's being narrowly focused on smaller channels. This isn't being focused narrowly on larger channels. This is across the board, and the theme is the same. It's if you're showing what I deem to be the safe usage of a firearm, safely showing how to load it, how to unload it, how to use it, then you're potentially running afoul of the current interpretation of the YouTube rules. And so this has created a lot of concern in the community. You're going to see a lot of conversations on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube videos like this one, where people are talking about what's going on. And then another component of this is we see oftentimes in the comments of our YouTube videos, and I'm sure we're going to see it in this video as well, people are saying, well, get off YouTube and go to Rumble. Go to the 20 or 30 different streaming sites that are out there now. Go there and just get off YouTube. The problem with that is almost every creator in the 2A space that I know we've been uploading to these alternative sites for coming up on 2 years now. And if you go back in time many years ago, I was part of an effort to create a site called Full 30 to create a safety net for just this scenario, but it wasn't used. People ridiculed it, made fun of it, said it was conspiracy theories. YouTube would never kick gun channels off. Here we are in 2023, and that's exactly what they're doing.
Right.
And so
go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say, I want to address the whole issue of Rumble and other hosting sites and talk about, the fact that we've been going there, but the viewers have not been following us.
Yep. And before we dive too deep into this, I mean, understand that when me and Tim are making this channel, there's lots of pieces about this. I mean, like, to be honest, we just started this channel 4 days ago, and it's already growing incredibly quickly. Thank you so much to you guys for helping support it. But it kind of begs the question, why are you starting another channel? On my channel, Langley Outdoors Academy, I did a video last night, which I alluded to in the intro. I actually had to delete 300 videos of when my channel was actually firearms related content. Now, I was not told to do it. I was not forced to do it. No one twisted my arm. But when I look at the broader mission of the Second Amendment, passing it on to the next generation, really getting information out there which will help our cause, informing the population of what's going on for our rights and where we can motivate, it's what we had to do to make this a forward momentum. In fact, this channel that you're watching right here is an extension of that. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about all the deepest facets of our freedoms and passing it along to the next generation. That's a main focus of what we're doing. But channels like this one and channels like mine, now that I've deleted 300 videos, are no longer going to fall into those criteria. However, you're talking about 95 to 97% of channels that would fall under a potential new interpretation, which would leave them in a very bad place. Strikes are being handed out like candy across the board. And I mean, if you compare and contrast Tim and I, my channel is purely political content, political analysis, advocacy, but his channel would kind of angle more towards a vulnerability for these new rules. Where does that leave the two of us? And it's kind of these are real people behind these decisions or impacted by these decisions. These are not machines. These are not people who go out and say, yeah, I'm going to make this cool video and devote 30 hours of this week to making this one video like some of my friends do. This is their livelihoods. Like, this is how they pay the bills. This is how they feed their children. This is how they house their children. This is how they maintain their lives, because they built it on existing rules that they were well within before there was a reinterpretation and retroactivity was applied. And that's a big part of what we're talking about. To me, that is one of the worst parts about this, is the retroactivity, because people are impacted when they were following the rules prior. Like you said, very similar to the ATF ruling.
Yes, and I don't want to name names or anything, because a lot of people are really concerned about, drawing the ire of YouTube right now. Not so much me. The minute this stuff broke, I was right out there making videos mocking YouTube for it. It's just kind of my nature. But a lot of my peers are rightfully concerned, and they don't want to be named. But I was on a phone call coming into the studio today talking to a creator. I guarantee you most of you watching this know, and they're on their second strike, and they are really concerned about that third strike. Because with that third strike comes a deletion of your channel, right? Now, we do know that Mr. Guns and Gear, because he's talked openly about this, did get his channel deleted. He was lucky enough to get it reinstated, but now he's back, I believe, under a 2-week ban. I know TGC News is currently under a 2-week ban. And by that, I mean, you cannot upload videos to your channel. You can't do any live streaming with your channel. Basically, your channel's up and active, but you can do nothing with it for 2 weeks as part of your punishment. And then, of course, that third strike just deletes the channel. And so even though Mr. Guns and Gear got his channel back, he's now been stricken again, and I believe is operating under, his current ban, and is pushing people to his B channel. And so I want to talk about the whole, not just YouTube's policies and what they're doing to the content creators, but the viewers who urge us to move to alternative platforms. And, early on, I believed that our existence on YouTube, our days were numbered. And I felt that way since I was standing in Hickok 45's living room with 10 Outdoors 9 and 22 Plankster eating pizza. And this is like 10 years ago, and we were talking about things. And I said then, our days are numbered on YouTube. They will eventually kick us off. And I can't say that we were all in agreement about that. And I was way ahead of the curve in that prediction, but here we are. And so people are now saying, well, just go to Rumble. And as I said earlier, I've been on Rumble. My content mirrors automatically from YouTube. So when I post a new video on YouTube, it automatically mirrors to Rumble and Utreon and BitChute, but and a few others I've, that have that auto import functionality built in. I've set that up so that if they do take my main channel down, my content is mirrored elsewhere, and I can just go out and tell my audience this is where you can find the content now. But the problem is that we see an awful lot of viewers telling content creators to go elsewhere, but we don't see the viewers following us. Now, I will say my Rumble has grown just in the last week over 10,000 subscribers. And so that's pretty significant considering I think I'm right around 12 or 13,000 subscribers because I've never really pushed Rumble before. It was just my backup plan, right? I was just mirroring content there. So people are moving over because more people are talking about this. But what we really need is we need a couple of things. First of all, we need the creators to come together. If the true solution is we're giving up on YouTube and we need to find a new home, we need to come together as a community, all of us, the creators and the viewers, and say, we're going to Rumble. We're going to whatever streaming service it is that, people can find us. Because if we all go to the winds and we wind up on 30 different hosting sites,
nothing will happen.
Nothing will happen. And that could kill our reach. That could kill the message. And that could be very, very bad for the Second Amendment community that's looking for this content that you just simply can't get anywhere else. It's not like you can turn on, HBO, Showtime, NBC, Fox, or some other channel and get firearms content like many of us produce, because that content simply isn't available anywhere other than right here on YouTube or right on Rumble.
I mean, but to that point, Tim, there are things that we cover on my channel. I do 2 videos a day. There are things that I cover literally for a week and a half before I see it blip into the main news cycle. Like when they were coming out and saying all the banking codes were going to be specialized codes for gun purchases and ammo purchases, and you're going to be isolated, I was covering that for a week and a half before I ever heard anything on it again from the main newsline sources. The power that YouTube represents to push our rights forward is immense. And to its credit, YouTube is one of the most powerful centralized sources of information available. That's just the way that it is, and it's just fact. It's driven by Google, the most powerful internet company in the world. It has all the tools, all the analytics, and everything in order to push that message of freedom forward. Now, if you're looking at content-specific channels, and you say my channel, I'm using my channel as an example because it's kind of an outlier for what we're talking about. I do political content. I do 2A news. I do 2A advocacy. I tell you when bills are coming down gun control. I tell you when pro-gun bills. I tell you when constitutional carry is coming out. I tell you the trends that are going on underneath the surface so that we can align to being in front of the problems or solutions should be needed. That is so powerful. That still stays in place. And I think that that's how you use these systems going forward to truly drive the Second Amendment forward. But that's not really the main problem right now. The main problem that we have is honestly something that we talked about before the show. There's such a centralized base of information that should this go through and should this continue and nothing change, is lost on this platform. Again, the most powerful platform forever. And that's something that is like, how many of you watching this video, and Tim mentioned it prior to recording, how many on this video or watching this video look up something how do you fix a hedge trimmer? How do you fix a toilet? How do you install a toilet? What about a dishwasher? If you take anything else, that's a very key YouTube function. And that's what we're missing here. And I think you have a great point that you're about to go into around just that topic.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world, second only to Google itself. And as you mentioned, it is probably the most used how-to tool on the internet. Myself, I have a huge collection of firearms. That's what I use to create the content on my channel. And my collection goes back to World War I primarily. I have a few firearms that predate that, but generally speaking, World War I to present is my area of focus in terms of firearms. But I oftentimes will pick up, let's just use a gun that you're probably familiar with, but may not know how to field strip. Let's talk about the P08 Luger, okay? Very interesting gun from history. developed right around the turn of the century. Not a whole lot of owner's manuals get transferred with Lugers when people buy them, but people do buy them at gun shows and online and things like that. But they don't know how to take them apart. It's not a very intuitive gun to take apart. And they oftentimes break parts, bolt hold open pieces and stuff like that. I would use YouTube to, I'm a Luger collector, but let's just say that I'm not. I would use YouTube if I just bought a Luger yesterday at a gun show to learn how to take it apart. If I got one that didn't have a working bolt stop, I could get on Numerich, order a new bolt stop, and trying to figure out how to install that on my own if I was not mechanically inclined would be very difficult. But I could jump right on YouTube right now. And if I promise you that if you search that right now on YouTube, you will find a video that will show you how to replace the bolt stop in a Luger pistol. This is something YouTube wants to take away because they consider it a modification of the firearm. They don't want you to be able to show how to disassemble it. They don't want you to show how to fix it. They don't want you to show how to improve, the accuracy of it. They don't want you doing anything apparently other than just pulling the trigger and making it go bang for now until they reinterpret the rules yet again. And so the loss here, even if we do move to other platforms, is the fact that we're giving up the second largest search engine in the world. There's billions of videos that have been uploaded for, I don't know what year Google purchased YouTube, but let's go with like 2006 maybe?
I think it was early 2000s. I think it was early 2000s.
2004, 2006?
Something
so
like that.
In that time span to 2023, there are billions of videos on the second largest search engine out there. And if you search on Google, which most people do, when you get a search result back for a video, it's going to go to YouTube. It's not going to go to Rumble, right?
Nope.
So in your search results on that first page, whatever it is you're looking for, you're going to get your textual links, then you're going to get your video suggestions. Always YouTube. And they want to take that away. And I have a real problem because on my channel, I focus on the safe handling of firearms. I like to show historical pieces. I like to show currently produced, pieces. And I like to show how to load them, unload them, and use them safely. But these are all things that YouTube is now calling modification of the firearm. Let's talk about the suppressor thing, for example. People may not know this, but YouTube is now saying the installation of a suppressor onto a firearm is modifying it. Therefore, if you show that, if you have a QD mount, whatever, and you show the mounting of the silencer to the firearm, you're going to get a strike. That video is going to get deleted, and you're 2 more strikes away from losing your account. There's a problem here because if I want to show you a firearm with a suppressor installed, it's incumbent upon me, based upon the type of content that I produce and the things I like to communicate in my videos, I want to show you how to safely use that suppressor. You need to know if the suppressor is lined up with the bore of the firearm or not, because if the suppressor is not lined up properly with the bore, you'll get a baffle strike and it can create an unsafe condition. So to properly mount a suppressor and check that alignment is something that I would normally do in a video. But now YouTube is deeming that to be a modification, and they don't want me showing you that.
Correct.
So,
and that's the piece. You're hitting it. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
That's the piece. Imagine, if you will, and again, this is what we're looking at across the board, because this is not about machismo. This is not about, look at how great I can do with this one thing. Look how fast I can do this. Look at my speed. Look at whatever you want to look at. Think about it on the most base level. We just had the largest amount of first-time gun buyers in the history of the United States be women, be minorities, across the board. I think it was something like 20 million people in the past 2 years. It was somewhere in that range. I can't remember the exact number. It might have been 40% of 2 million, something like that. My point is, the biggest that's ever been represented. You're taking away a resource for not only knowledge, but also safety. So, for example, if I can't show that individual how to do something benign, like, for example, how to clear completely safe a handgun that you just purchased and put a flashlight on it because you want to be able to have a flashlight, that would be a removed piece of content that is gone. You're toast. I can't see you for 7 days. And that's what we're talking about here. This is not, I think it's really important to say that it's not just Rambo in the country doing something. This is everyday things that are part of the gun world, which a source of knowledge is incredibly important. Even something as research related, like, hey, do I want a 9mm or do I want a 40 or a 45? What is a 40? What's the pros and cons? Even me sitting down at a bench explaining it, that could lead to a bad outcome for that channel. And that's the thing that's the biggest concern here, because this affects real people who have operated under the premise of, I want to show people how to safely do these things. And now, after 2 years, say you have 1,000 videos, all 1,000 of those videos are subject to an algorithm change that happens instantly. Like, not every channel is like mine. Not every channel is political based, of where I can go back and say, I've got to cut off my arm to make sure we move forward for this mission. Other channels don't have that option. I mean, literally every single video, they're doing something related to the safety of the Second Amendment that can get them struck. I mean, to put that in perspective, it's like waiting on lightning to strike and you wake up and you hope that nothing happened. It's a terrible feeling. But I mean, that's kind of where we find ourselves, and that's the crux of the issue. It's creating a negative outcome, at least in my opinion.
I can give you a perfect example because we just filmed a video yesterday, and in the video we were showing a product, and the product was malfunctioning, and we were shooting the video, showing the malfunctions, me clearing them, shooting it. You know, the gun immediately malfunctioned again, malfunctioned again, malfunctioned again. We shot the whole sequence, and I stopped and I looked at Jason. And I said, we can't show any of this, brother. Under the new rules, I can't, because what I'm doing to clear the malfunction is I have to drop the magazine out, pull the bolt to the rear, clear the malfunction, reinsert the magazine, charge the weapon, and shoot again. And because I was pulling the magazine out and putting the magazine back in and showing that process, I'm in violation of the current rules as rule interpretation that people are getting stricken for right now on YouTube. So when this video releases, you're going to see me using creative editing once again, which I've been doing in my last few videos, where basically I just have to cut out half of the clearing process. And that's critical to the safety of that firearms usage, right? When a gun malfunctions, I need to show you, if you're not familiar with that particular product or firearm, I feel I need to show you how to safely correct that malfunction. Because many times when a gun where a gun accident occurs and somebody gets hurt, it's usually because they're not familiar with the firearm. They don't know how to properly clear that malfunction, and an accident ensues, right? So in my opinion, the fact that I had to go through and edit out the complete process for clearing those malfunctions safely, now I've contributed to a potential problem. So somebody else that may buy this product may encounter the exact same malfunctions, but yet they don't know how to properly and safely clear them. And that just drives me nuts, man. I cannot stand the fact that I can't even show you how to clear a malfunction for fear of getting an account strike.
Right. And, you know, the thing that a lot of people don't truly understand, and I understand that not everyone's a creator. I mean, I get it. That's not something that I would put on anybody else. Like, you have to understand exactly where I'm coming from on this. But when you take my channel example for another example, when you have a channel that is built around daily uploads, once in the morning, once in the evening, all around what's going on with our rights, what's gun control happening, it's up to the date moment information. If I can't publish that information for 7 days, that means that I can't pay an employee in order to continue that process, because you're not viewing, you're not paying your bills. Essentially, is the way that it works. And the impact of that is a net negative on the Second Amendment. Now, again, for what my content is now, particularly after my mass deletion that I had to do, it's a pretty safe bet as of right now. And that's why we're continuing going forward with the Second Legacy. This channel that you're watching, my channel is continuing going forward. And honestly, with a little bit more gusto, because the way that I look at it is they have directly changed something that impacts my brothers. I consider them my brothers in the industry, like the ones that are underneath the knife the whole time. 95% of those that I call brothers and work very closely with are now under threat. Yeah. And that's very hard. That's very hard. But I mean, where do we go from here? In my own personal opinion, and Tim, I'd love to bounce this off you. I think that this moves forward, but I think the Second Amendment field, if nothing changes, is going to look dramatically different. If you were going to do a equivalent example. This would be like a wildfire goes through a forest and there's a couple trees left standing and then the regrowth happens. But what about those trees that were already established under existing rules? It's just, it's a very hard thing to do. And I think specific channels stay on the platform because it's the best outcome, the best good for the Second Amendment. Like my political commentary, my political stuff, that's not a threat. I can stay here. I can make more of an impact for the Second Amendment. But what about people like your channel? What about the people that you mentioned earlier on? Where does this leave them? And that's the worst part. I'm like, what are your thoughts? So how do you think this goes forward as, based on where we're at right now?
Well, so YouTube has a history of not reversing course. Now, I imagine things will stabilize. And again, this isn't the first time similar things have happened. I mean, we've dealt with this every year or two in the past. It's always something. Usually a news event precipitates these types of actions by YouTube. I think the whole suppressor, homemade suppressor, showing the mounting of a suppressor is all in direct relation to what recently transpired in California, a recent tragedy. So I think that's what's kind of driving the whole suppressor conversation right now. Now, the 30-round magazine thing, we're being told that the algorithms are going to be counting gunshots. And if you fire 31 rounds in a string, that video is automatically by the algorithms going to get flagged. You're going to get a strike and the video is going to get pulled. I think this is our new normal. So I don't think YouTube is going to reverse course. I think the best we can hope for at the moment is that we can get YouTube to stop the account strikes, stop the banning of channels, and then we're just going to have to play by the rules going forward. And look, I'm a capitalist and it's YouTube's house. It's their rules. I think we as creators, all we're asking for is a fair shake. If you're going to change the rules on us, give us a heads up and give us the opportunity to play by the rules or leave. That's all we're asking for. And, we're not saying you have to allow Second Amendment content on the platform. You don't. You're a private business. But please don't play games with us. Please don't play these sophomore, childish, grade school games, which is what I feel is being done to us. Just be honest with us. If you want to change the rules, fine. Notify us, give us a chance to comply, and stop retroactively punishing people. But that assumes that they don't have a political agenda, and I fear that this is purely politics on Google and YouTube's side. And I think the end goal here is that at some point in the future, gun content simply will not be welcomed on YouTube, at least the type of content I produce on the Military Arms channel, which is, the actual usage of firearms. Now, on the political commentary, I don't know how safe that is either, my friend. Take a look at what they've done to Steven Crowder. Take a look at what they've done to other political commentators on YouTube. If you say something they don't like, or if it's about a topic they don't like.
Yes, it's the topic, yes.
That they can and will come for you. And
100%.
Sadly, my prediction, we'll see where this pans out in 10 years, is that discussions of Second Amendment rights, urging people to fight for those rights, may come under the gun.
So to speak.
I mean, see what I said there?
I
by
see
the
that.
YouTube moderators. So I don't think any of us are safe. I think that this is the new normal. We're going to get past this. Those left standing will have to play by the new rules until the next round happens. So the question then becomes, do we now, as a community, start to have a discussion of where the creators and our audiences can move to so that we can continue our mission to spread good information about a constitutionally protected right, about items that are 100% legal. I can have a 100-round drum. That's not illegal under US law currently, but YouTube doesn't want you showing it. And if you use it, there's your account strike. So I just sadly believe this is a new normal. I don't think it's going to stop. I think that we're going to continue down this path until firearms content just simply is not welcomed anymore on the platform. And sadly, I think that's going to go the same way with politics as they relate to the Second Amendment. Let's hope that's a long ways off.
I hope that's a very long ways off. I mean, and to kind of wrap this conversation for you guys viewing the channel, what we're trying to accomplish with the Second Legacy and the fusion of these two channels is we're trying to bring information, but also make it as clean and clear as to grow in an uninhibited way. That's a nice way to say that, isn't it? And that's the point. That's why we need you guys to join the Second Legacy. It's a subscription. It's free. It's right down there. Leave comments, like the videos, send them out. We would love to have you in this party with us because we can go deeper into issues between Tim and I's experience and the stuff that we have and we've seen and the underlying trends that are always going on in the gun world. That's what this channel is about. And for now, thank you so much for watching. This was not a fun content video to make, but we felt that it needed to be made. And we will see you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. See you later.